All right, my friends. So what we find most of the time is most of us just go with the basic color wheel, and we know someone's hair pulls red. We know that they pull brassy. They don't want to see red. They don't want to see brass. And we think in our heads, okay, the opposite of red is green. And when you pull green to red, then we get this neutralization, which is gray. Gray lives in the middle of the color wheel. This is in the most basic form. The problems that go into play is that there's no variations on the amount of the lightness, the amount of depth that's with these colors. You know, if we're trying to counteract any shade of orange in someone's hair and you're like, give me a blue concentrate, well, how much blue do you really need? What color of blue? There are so many variations of blue. And this is where formulation comes in to really bite us in the ass. So we're looking for neutralization when it comes to counteracting people when we're lifting. When we go through a lifting process, we usually expose red, orange, yellow is what we're seeing. And what is helpful when we're seeing those colors is to actually using some sort of a chart that hopefully you have for your color lines that show you the underlying tones. So here's a couple different ones, and we have different names for them throughout each system and each company. I wish that we had a generic system for everything in our color world, but we don't. So the best thing to do is to really get to know your color line, like really get to know it so that you can become the master, the specialist in that field of your color, and to test everything and to test it on different levels of hair and on cotton and swatches of different things so you can get to see the background color. So what we're gonna do today is break it down into a simplest form of what this one color line calls it. And we are non-branded, so when we talk about things, it is really general because every company does say things different. What we believe is in science, and we believe in chemistry, and we believe that you really have to know what is in your product. So we have experimented with a lot of different color companies, and for instance, one of our swatches that we just did for a light violet blonde, there's 3 different colors from 3 different manufacturers, all demi-liquid, all light violet blonde. Okay, so when it comes to understanding what's inside your color tube or your bottle is really, really important, because back to the underlying pigment chart, if I'm trying to cancel out a yellow and I made it to yellow, I made it past red and orange in the hair, and it's not gonna look like this, right? It's gonna look more like this, but just the law of color. If I made it to yellow, then the law of color says I would use violet to pull it to neutral. Now, there's a lot of variables, and of course, that's a whole other class of making sure the hair was even prepped the right way and that the porosity is even and it's not uneven porosity. So those are other variables that then you have to take into consideration when you are formulating. But let's just say best case scenario, we've already clarified, we've lightened her. She came to a really nice yellow level 9. So these swatches that we did, we took the color and we lightened them to a level 9, and then we treated them and processed the full time at these 3, or with these 3 different liquid demi colors. And the reason we would use a yellow is if the person likes a cool blonde color. And say her goal was to be the lightest possible blonde. She doesn't want to see yellow. She likes a cool tone. She looks great with a cool tone, and she knows what she wants. Okay, wonderful. So which blonde violet would you choose? Well, if she lifted to a nice pale yellow undertone and we took her all the way to here, then my goal is what I usually will show them is to neutralize is usually the natural chart either on the other side or on this one, it is right underneath. So I usually will showcase these colors because at best you will be neutral, or if you want to be a fashion color, then we can go with a darker version of that color and have more dye. There's definitely more dye load and background of this color than there is of this. So if it was someone that wanted a really natural looking hair color and they really want it to be soft and balanced but not darker, then I would choose the lightest, less background, the lightest version of blonde, because we lifted her so light. And that would look like this. And it's soft and on a nice level 9 yellow undertone. To me, what I would probably consider that is a ash, but a champagne ash, because there is a little bit of light reflection and shine in there. Where if I use the other color line at the lightest blonde violet, I'm gonna be getting violet. So she wanted a fashion color and she wanted a really deep tone of violet and she truly wanted to see violet, then that's what you would use. If she wanted to be deeper and more, what I would consider more, you know, almost of a, it's almost in the like brown, cool brown family to me, then we would go with this. But this one is a whole heck of a lot darker to the eye than this one. And the reason being is that I would say, by looking at this, it's because there's a lot more color going on. There's a lot more depth from the background. So the background plays a huge part in how we formulate and what we're formulating. And it's just a little sneak peek of what we do. When we talk about gray, which is in the center, that's what we call ash, right? So that's gonna be pulling you all the way to the center, which is equal parts of the primaries, blue, red, and yellow. Our primaries live here, blue, red, and yellow. And if you're looking for a balanced, more of a brown, and different variations of brown can go up to the lightest color could be a blonde, even though I'm saying brown, then brown would be 1 part blue, 2 parts red, and 3 parts yellow. So that's like the basics of understanding what gray is, what brown is, and understanding the actual primary colors in our color wheel. This is the simplest form of hair color when it comes to, I know Max has shown the sphere before. That includes the different variations of the depth, of the lightness, and of all of the different colors that we can create. So that's a simple little exercise that you should be doing with your color line to really get to know it and really understand. If you get your client to the level that you were hoping for, then what do you do? How do you refine it? How do you enhance it? How do you neutralize it? And really, you can know this like the back of your hand, and you may say, oh yeah, that's easy, that I need a violet, but what does your violet look like? And that's the biggest takeaway that I want you to know from this little exercise is what color are you putting on the hair to create neutralization.